All right. One of the many hats I wear at Micron is a Tableau trainer. I'm on the analytics and solutions analyst. Solutions analytics with data science. And so now you're all my class today, which means I'm going to ask you questions, get a little audience participation, and I get to try out the same things I do with my class here. So we're going to start off the same way I do with every class I teach at Micron for Tableau Desktop with a 10-second viz check. All right, so if a visualization is going to be effective, you have to be able to answer these 3 questions inside of 10 seconds. Is, what is it? You'll be surprised how many times you can't figure that out by looking at it. What is it? It's a beautiful what, all right? How is it being measured, all right? And is it going well? All right, so I'm going to go through a piece at a time. Rather than use those links and test their internet, I'm thinking we got, 27,000 people using the internet. We'll just go with slides today instead. I got these all off of Tableau Public. All right, 10 seconds, team. All right, 10 seconds. Did we pass? Show of hands. Did we pass? Who thinks we didn't pass? All right, so we got 0 for 1. 10 seconds. All right, who thinks we passed? Who thinks we didn't pass? It's really pretty, isn't it? Yes, it does. All right, let's go on. Cat emojis, 10 seconds. All right, did we pass? Who thinks we passed? Nobody thinks we passed this one. I've done this one before. Who thinks we didn't pass here? All right. I'm getting to some that maybe passed. Tour de France, 10 seconds. All right, how many think we passed? 1. All right, how many think we didn't pass? All right. A lot of people are abstaining from voting, and that's allowed. All right. Michael Jordan, everyone likes Mike. 10 seconds. All right, how many think Michael Jordan passed here? All right, that guy. How many thinks Michael Jordan didn't pass? All right, most people think that didn't pass. 10 seconds doesn't give you the information you need. How about blood donors? All right, 10 seconds. Did we pass? Anybody? All right, I think we passed. Who thinks we didn't pass? All right, I usually get more people thinking that this part passed over here, telling you donation types, but that this part is kind of a mess. All right, can't really understand what's going on over there. Let's see. And the flu. 10 seconds. All right, how many think that one passed? Usually get a few more votes for pass on here. How many thinks the flu didn't pass? All right, a little more neutral on that one. So that's all right. A lot of pretty things there, but ultimately, if you can't tell me in 10 seconds what it is, how it's being measured, all right, and what direction it's going, people give up on you just that fast, all right? When you're building an effective COE, that's my key principle. Science, you're my data scientist today. This is an iterative process, all right? And I'm sure people would spend many hours and hours building those beautiful visualizations only to find out that for my credentials, that's not what I was looking for. I want to be able to tell those 3 things in 10 seconds because my users demand that kind of answers. That's all right, though. Go back to the drawing board. You can do another iteration. I'm a big fan of iteration. I push that over and over again. Don't overinvest 17 hours in something really pretty just to have the person you presented it to say, that doesn't answer my question, all right? Do a lot of iterations. You'll get to results you're looking for a lot quicker. So let's say a little bit about Micron. Global leader in advanced memory systems. We're based out of Boise, Idaho, and we're across the world. We do a lot of collaborative work with our customers to engineer technology that accelerates the power of progress. We want to change the way the world learns, communicates, entertains. Memory is in everything, and we see the presentation that they gave earlier saying that we're going to have 50 times as much data in the next 5 years. Boy, I love seeing that. I'm like, job security, here we go, because that memory's got to go somewhere, right? So, 40 years in business. We actually just had a big 40-year bash last weekend. Fiscal year 18 did $30.4 billion. We're the 3rd largest memory company in the world. Number 150 on the Fortune 500, 40,000 patents. In fact, we've got this beautiful place on site that has a wall of all our patents, and it's not even complete, but it's farther than you can see in tiny print, floor to ceiling. It's a beautiful thing. really great portfolio, trusted advisors in computer storage. It's probably in so many products that you have, you don't even know it's there. Like I said, we're around the world. All right. Maybe some of you guys are in here. If you are, hey, glad to see you. Glad we're able to collaborate today. Partners everywhere. I have a couple of ads I thought you'd like. Tenacity, there's a pattern here. All right? In other words, hey, we're going to do some analytics on this. Or the one I really like is brilliant. Happens in a dash. Tableau people couldn't agree more, right? All right, so I'll tell you about my path here. This is when I took over managing the Center of Excellence at Micron. We had about 1,500 developers, no trainers. We were talking about bringing on some trainers. We had about 20,000 people consuming reports on our servers. You can see the metrics there. I'll tell you about my path coming into this, though. I previously worked for a company called Ingram Micro. Who knows who Ingram Micro is? They're the biggest company you ever heard of, the world's largest electronics distributor. And I was a financial analyst there. I thought that's a really secure spot. But then they brought in this really fancy new reporting software that made things so efficient that they didn't need so many financial analysts anymore. I'm not going to tell you what software that was, but you could probably guess if I let you try. All right? So at that point, came over to Micron. They needed people to build some dashboards, and that's when I got introduced to this thing called Tableau. They're like, hey, we're trying to get our global pricing teams all on the same page because, and I went to a couple of these meetings. You end up with people from different parts of the world, and they come to the meeting with their own metrics they got from their own data sources, and instead of figuring out what to do about your insights, everyone's just kind of debating with each other about whose insights are right and how'd you come to that conclusion. Quickly, I just said, you know what, I got to resolve to change this. And I'm still kind of on that path organizationally. So we're going to have one tool for everybody, all right? And that way we're going to have transparency because transparency drives trust. And once you're able to drive transparency in reporting, we're able to change from arguing about whose insights were right. Within that organization, to be able to figure out what do we do about these insights to move on to make better business impacts. And so Tableau was able to do that for that group. And I tell you, at first it felt like I was cheating on my girlfriend Excel. Anyone ever felt that way? Because Excel and I had many, long hours of analytics together. But I had to say, all right, I'll just flirt with Tableau for a little while, and then I realized this girl has got some nice features. And I had to go back and say, Excel, I'm sorry, Excel, there's still a place for you in my life, but there's another love in my life, and I'm going to spend a lot more time with her. But we can still be friends. And I hope you all, maintain that friendship with Excel. It's a hard breakup for a lot of people, but you can manage it, trust me. So, as I came in doing the pricing team, they decided to pull all reporting out of the pricing team and move it to a team called the reporting team. That's when I raised my hand. I said, there's a problem here. So what's that, Alan? I said, that's the only part of this job I like. I'm like, oh, that is a problem. And that's when I took over managing the COE at Micron. And so I had this skilled team of passionate workers. Everything was good and bright in the world. I was going to be playing with Tableau all day, every day. So I thought. But then perception had to meet reality. Don't you hate it when that happens? I started looking around like, I got to do server admin, SharePoint developer, a licensed specialist. I got to lead training, got to be tech support, curriculum, server architecture, visualization consultant. I got to build a community. Got to be a Jira expert. Like, okay. Blowing into a paper bag, so I can do this, leaning on my account rep. And I'm like, so how big is my team? And they said, that guy you interview with from Taiwan? I'm like, yeah. I said, that's it. That's the team. Like, what happened to those other people? I'm like, temporary assignments until you could get hired. Oh, okay. And so, let me say on this, I'm saying, Bo, we've got a very small team here and got this huge deployment to manage. What can we do? All right, what can you do when you have all of those things you're responsible for? The plan was to build an effective center of excellence. We needed to develop training internally and leverage Tableau resources to the max. All right, so layers of opportunity were in front of me here. First off is when you build a quality COE, you reduce the frequency of FAQs. Frequently asked questions, right? If you solve that, people like to help themselves. They really do. You just got to make it really easy for them to find that support system. You got to build confidence in the platform. You'll see later on that we build a lot of confidence from the way we present our COE, make people feel good about using Tableau as a tool. And you can create a positive user experience. Again, we're able to use dashboards right inside of the COE, so when people have questions of what's an effective use of a tree map, what's an effective use of a geospatial map, how do you make a dashboard work together to really solve business problems? Our Center of Excellence does a great job of that, so people can look at that and say, my sample examples of how to solve business problems with Tableau is right there within that page. Everything's embedded, all right? Also, I have a couple of units of the class that I teach directly out of the COE. There's some pieces in the traditional desktop classes that we have omitted because they're not valuable to Micron, and we've thrown in other pieces there that we teach right out of it. And also, when you're building this, you get to build relationships, you get to grow your sphere of influence, get your web spanned out here, because ultimately, we'll show you that crowdsourcing is the way you're going to have to manage this if you're trying to manage a large deployment with limited resources. And like I said, we have to beg, borrow, and steal, all right? Beg other users in your organization to become a part of this, all right? So yeah, sure, you got a team of 2, but I need help from XYZ, I need help from HR, I need help from my coders, I need help from any number of people. And if you get them excited about what they're producing, then people tend to really want to get a hold of that. You beg local experts to anchor your community. I got Zen Master Shin managing our local internal user group, which is a great thing. And use those, leverage those people, and give them recognition. And boy, a little bit of recognition, all of a sudden they're gleaming. When a question comes that you can't solve, they're like, yes, I get a chance to tackle a hard one. They know you pre-screened it, all right? So this is going to be fun for them. They really thrive on that. Borrow Tableau maintained resources, all right? And I'll show you which resource we put in. Also, the 3-click rule, all right? Essential when you're running this, because if your users have to click more than, actually full 3 times, and they haven't found their answer yet, they're going to say, you know what, it's impossible, it's not there, I've thrown my hat in the air, and they're going to assume it's not there, and you're going to have to deal with this personally. It's going to go through your IT department, or it's going to come to your email. It's a problem you're going to have to solve just because you had too many clicks to find the answer, all right? And this is studied and proven. The 3-click rule, known in marketing, follow that. Make it so that they can find everything they need to know within 3 clicks. Also, people have a 5 to 8 second attention span. All right, so we did those 10-second viz checks to say, can you get the information you need to know off of this visualization in 10 seconds? Most people won't give you 10. They'll give you 6. And if your answer is something they can find in 6 seconds, all right, maybe 8 if they're really keyed in on this, then that's great. Your Center of Excellence was effective. They found their answer in 8 seconds, and they're going to be satisfied with their answer. You don't have to talk to them. But of course, you're not going to have the bandwidth to deal with everyone's questions, so you want to make sure they can find it in 5 to 8 seconds. That way, you don't have to deal with those problems, and they can be self-serving and more happy people. All right, and you steal publicly published Postgres workbooks. All right, so you find a lot of stuff about Postgres and data monitoring and your tools you're trying to figure out what's going on in your server. They take a long time to build, but there are resources out there that Tableau provides a community of support for where they've already built it. Go steal that. Retool it a little bit for your organization, and voila, you've got a brand new tool that you didn't have to build and it's ready for you, all right? Feel free to go out there and steal those resources, steal best practices, right? Rather than figure out what are the best practices for here. So many people publish long lists of best practices for performance, for training, for all kinds of other things. Don't invent it. Read through a few of those, adapt those, and be ready to go, all right? And of course, stealing from yourself. If you have something that was really built for something else, but you can kind of adopt it into what you're doing, always feel comfortable stealing from yourself, all right? Build up your archive of stuff you've already built, grab that, retool it, and then you're rocking and rolling. So, talking about results, all right? End up with 5 major topics. We'll get to real pages, and I'm going to get a drink for a second. Got the 5 gets, because everyone's there to get something, right? They're there to get started, they're there to get trained, they're there to get help, they're there to get permission, or they're there because their dashboard is too slow. So they're there to make it faster, all right? With that kind of topic, within 5 seconds, they can say, hey, I know what I'm here to get, and they can move on. Also, you have, governance, performance scoring, some resources for your administrators, and of course, your internal and external communities. All right, so this is what it looks like. Built right in SharePoint. I have no expertise in building SharePoint before I did that, but you can embed your metrics right on there, make it so people can find the answers. We talked about how building confidence in your platform right from the COE. We've had over 616 days of continuous uptime on our Boise server. That means that my data is always going to be there when I need it. We love advertising that right on the front page. It's ready, it's available, it hasn't been down in a very long time. All right, also, governance is a big piece, all right? We want people to follow good rules for performance because I don't want a dashboard to be sitting in front of a large audience that is not fast, all right? That drives satisfaction with your tool really far down. And so simply putting up these metrics makes people aware, oh, so they really do monitor, what our load times are, what if we're using an extract. Unused columns, all right, big deal. We know how many people are not bothering to get rid of your unused columns. Fastest thing you can do to improve performance is that little click, hide unused columns, and then create your extract. All right, you go from digesting 100 columns to the 12 you actually use. Small data is fast data, all right? And also, a mission statement saying, hey, we're gonna have a best-in-class experience here. If you have any questions, call this guy, he'll help you out. And I really dedicated to that. But, like we said, size doesn't matter. Fast data is better than big data. I love that quote. Because how many times have you seen someone with a dashboard that's loaded up like this thing, right? And they want just everything in it, 100 marks and lots of columns, and they're trying to, consume the world, and they build up their dashboard like that, and then they want it to perform like a GT500, right? I say, why isn't it performing like a GT500? I go, well, maybe because you loaded it down like this overloaded pickup. So, another sample screen here. It's our help introduction page. Actually, Success Manager built that, giving people a nice introduction to Micron, to Tableau at Micron, and we said, hey, I'm going to steal that. We put that right into our COE, and so when people are looking for what are my resources there, it's in a story format, showing you how a story works. And I'm sure your customer success manager would have one of those if you want to publish one of those into your COE. Real easy thing to go steal and make good use for. All right, this has been a huge thing. Actually, Tim Nicknish, my previous account manager, did a whole presentation for an hour about working together to build this tool. This is how you help people find each other, all right? You can see a nice use of a tree map, some filters. This is iteration 1. So people can drill down to their location, find their supervisor, and then from there, find someone else that knows how to use Tableau that sits close to them. Like I said, though, it's an iterative process, so we reworked this a little bit because our org structure was changing. Once again, though, it also now is scoring how good that user is. All right, and I've got a really easy metric. All right, if you had 1,000 clicks, then you're good. 10,000 clicks, you're great. 100,000 clicks, you're an expert. And if you got 1,000,000 clicks, you are a legend. All right, and I've got a number of legends actually on the team. Because, 1,000,000 clicks, that takes some time. You obviously are a well-used author, and we want you to be the primary resource for people. I'm not a legend yet. I'm about 450,000 clicks. I'll get to that legend status one day, but I spend more of my time supporting this. Easy metrics, and then they can, like I said, enable people to help each other so that from there they can find the person that happens to sit on their floor, all right, send them an email saying, let's start talking about Tableau. Even though I know a lot about Tableau, I don't know the niche areas of marketing or engineering or product testing that they're deeply involved in, and knowing the data set makes such a huge difference. So when you find a way to connect to them, to someone else that also knows that data set, much more helpful than I can ever be. And so I love being able to use this resource built in Tableau, again, training tool, but also helping people collaborate across your organization so they can find each other, they can identify each other, they can get the quality help they need. All right, geospatial map. Boise campus is a mile across. So just finding out that there's someone else at Boise that uses Tableau probably doesn't help you as much as you need. But that's all right, because we can find, if you sit in building 36, click in building 36, and now it's going to show you who are the quality users in my building. Another great tool to show how Tableau works and help people collaborate together. All right. Links for classes. I teach these classes, and we maintain this. Actually, we're in multiple locations right now. We're expanding our curriculum to other physical locations in December. Simple thing, so people can have easy access to the classes they need. Doesn't take long to build it, but it answers a question. Training materials. We open up our training materials for everybody. We have a lot of people in places that I'm never going to have a class, all right? We just don't have enough people there, in Italy and some of our other remote areas, or in Austin in particular, to ever have a class. But they can go through our decks, all the training materials, and kind of try and self-teach, all right? And then I love it because they'll get through a part of that and say, hey, I was going through your self-taught curriculum here, and I had a problem with this. Wonderful. I want them reading those materials, make them available for everybody. How to get permission. I know I had to gray out a lot here, but this is another great thing because we spent a lot of time helping people figure out, how do I get access to this site? How do I get permissions to this workbook? I got tired of answering those questions. And so we built this tool where they can pick, for example, on our Boise server, one of the 70 sites that they want access to, all right, with a radial dial. And then it's going to tell them, hey, who are the admins for that site? What are the projects? All right, what are the Active Directory groups that are involved? So they know exactly what Active Directory group they need to be added to get the permission they need to either view or publish to that particular project. Fantastic. In fact, from there, if you click on the Active Directory group, it sends it into another internal page, and it tells you who manages this Active Directory group. Then you can go send an email to that person saying, please add me to this Active Directory group for this reason. Keeps me out of the loop, gets them the answers they need for permissions very, very fast and efficiently. So we're driving this. We have another one for our Apex server. If you can build a tool like this, teach people how to use it, save yourself a lot of time in FAQs, getting permissions done. Great thing for my org. Let's see, make it fast. Teaching right from the COE. I didn't invent all these steps. Actually, I've got 4 different checklists on how to make it fast. But I read a bunch of other people's checklists, and I said, hey, I like the concepts here, there, and everywhere. Adopt those, put them together, make them your own. And then in the standard format we have in classes, we've all used the starters and the solutions. We've got a starter that is unfocused data, that's really slow, has 100 extra columns, and they can walk it through from the intentionally bad one at the start to something that's beautiful and fast at the end, all right? Again, here, limiting filters, we want to teach people good behavior, so they start off with, filter torture at the beginning with someone that says, here's 600 filters because I want to be able to filter on everything. We narrow that down to 6 effective filters using parameter-driven controls. Teaching this section is also right out of the COE, embedded in our SharePoint page. How did I score? I love the social aspect of this because we have, not shown here, a top 100 list and a bottom 100 list. Nobody wants to be on the bottom 100 list, right? And when they find out that this exists, they go and they look up, hey, how do my workbooks score? They figure out which ones are scoring badly and why, all right? And then they fix it there on their own. We see a lot of this self-fixing behavior the more we publish these tools and make them available to our users. Rather than you having to make a campaign to go get people to change their behaviors, you just advertise that this is available, and they'll change them themselves. People want to be known for doing quality work. So if we give those tools, put them in their hands, make it easy for them, they can say, oh, all I have to do is hide unused columns and I'll score better, or switch to an extract and I'll score better. Fantastic. Simple steps that make the environment better for everyone because we want a better user experience, and so we got to drive for the developers to take those simple steps to make their experience better. Great thing we've been able to publish there. Because again, this is not how you use that car, right? And people try to load it down again like this and then still expect it to go 150 miles an hour, and it's just not going to work that way. You got to build it right. You got to use it the right way. Even if it's the right tool, if you're not using it the right way, you're going to get bad and awkward looking results like this. So again, internal community, we're using Confluence as a board there. There's a lot of different opportunities there. Really, it's where you can publish solved work. In fact, a famous problem that I point here all the time is that Micron's fiscal calendar is not well aligned to other fiscal calendars. We actually follow the potato harvest. All right? Anyone else follow the potato harvest for your fiscal calendar? Makes a lot of sense, right? No. See, because back when Micron was started, they got the loan from a guy named J.R. Simplot, who was a potato farmer, a legendary one in the area. And so that's when they started the company. Our fiscal calendar has followed the potato harvest ever since. Now try to get that fiscal calendar following the potato harvest with a work week that actually starts at 7 p.m. on Thursday, that's when the week starts, and make that align to your other calendars. Not easy, right? But luckily, our Zen Master Shin, he figured out a 17-step process to make your data align to that, and he published it on here. People say, how do I make this line up to our fiscal calendar? Oh, we can do that. All right, there's a simple solution where you can make your day start on the day, but that 7 p.m. thing is a little trickier. Solved work here that's unique to your organization. You're not going to find an answer for that on the global community, but internally that means a lot to us to be able to have solutions like that, solved work, so other people aren't trying to spend weeks and weeks figuring out how to make that simple 5-hour adjustment. Let's see. Oh, how do I connect to data? You know, I could have spent a long time trying to keep up with this, but instead I stole Tableau's webpage, embedded it in my COE, and they maintain this. They make sure it's accurate. I don't have to verify it. When there's new data connections available, they update that for me at no charge. It's beautiful. All right, go steal that, borrow it, however you want to call it. Help page. Boy, how do you maintain your own help page? Tableau's got a beautiful help page. Hey, how about we go borrow that, put it in there. And then, once again, as new features come out, you don't have to try and keep up with all the new features. They do that for you. They're very good at it. They're heavily invested in making sure that these help pages are up to date because they have the same objective. They want to eliminate all their FAQs and give people quick access to help themselves. And they try and follow that same kind of thing, 3 clicks, 6 seconds. People are going to find their answer. All right, training videos. We could try and make a big production and make a lot of our own training videos, or Tableau already makes those. Put those in your COE as well. Kind of getting a theme right here. So most of the things you need there are pre-built for you. All right, so working through all this, and I had a kind of a mental shift. I was expanding our center of excellence. So I started off like this, breathing in my paper bag, ready to fall over, saying, oh, we have this small team and a huge deployment. What can we do? You change one word, emphasize another, and your whole perspective changes. Let me show you what happened to me. I said, sure, we have a small team, but we have this huge deployment we manage. What can we do? In other words, small team, but big Micron, right? So here's my old team, Chuck and I, trying to conquer the world. You know, the 2 heroes in the world's largest deployment managed with 2 people. The new team is a lot bigger. I got 14 trainers. I got 200 plus experts. I got 800 plus trained desktop developers, 40 tech support specialists, 10 coders, 4 licensing experts, you know, a professional support team with Tableau, community specialist, and counting. The team is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You have to crowdsource this. You got this organization, they're all invested on that. Use all those resources, open up your arms and make everyone involved. And the more you get involved, they're going to be happier because they have a part of that. They have a say. They're influencing the direction you're going, what version you're using, doing test development. There's so many things. So don't, if you have this limited resources thing like how we can't do very much with just a few of us, that's all right. Your company's much bigger than that, and they're all invested in the success of each other. So please draw on those resources and work together for that. Show you how the results ended up. We went from 1,500 developers to 2,500. We had never taught an internal training class, but now we've had 450 people take our classes. We now have 14 trainers. We're up to 37,000 users thereabouts, actually a little more than that, close to 40,000 users on our server. Expanding train the trainers soon to Singapore and Shin. Still the 2 admins, and that's all right. You can see that the stats, you know, speak to immense growth. People say, well, how do you manage all that with 2 people? First off, like I said, you know, you make people aware that they can solve their own problems, help them collaborate together, but also don't do it with just 2 people. You do it with, you know, your training specialists, with your HR specialists, with everyone, because your whole organization is going to support you if you give them that opportunity to shine. So if you ever feel like you're trying to solve a problem that's just too big with too few resources, take a look around, because the resources you need might be a lot closer than you think. If you don't know where to start, phone a friend and go from there. I could be that friend, by the way. Don't mind that. So if you don't feel like you've reached a place you're looking for, trying to get, that's all right, because success is an iterative process. All right? I'm not done working on this. I'm not a finished product. But I know if we keep making iterations and make things better, that everyone's going to be better off for it. You know, any questions? Start here and go to the back.
What kind of license model do you guys use? How do you been able to scale your organization?
We're on an enterprise license agreement based on the number of desktop developers. And so we have had to grow that agreement a little bit over, you know, a 3-year term. so that we had enough space to fit in the growing demand for that.
Do you do anything like core?
Core.
Or mean like unlimited number of users or get the license?
We're renegotiating right now. We have a core of 38,000 server users and 2,750 available desktop users. Yeah. Let's see. Yes, sir.
You mentioned scaling Postgres workbooks and all that. Where's the best place to do that? And which ones did you go?
Which one did I steal from? I should get that link. I'll give me my card. I'll give you the links to where those are located on Tableau's support pages, because a lot of Postgres workbooks that you don't have to rebuild yourself. I've stolen a lot of them. In fact, I'll give you a list of the ones that I think were the best ones to steal. I should have thrown that in here, but yeah, we'll sync up on that. Yes, miss. I believe all these are going to be published along with all the other information from conference. So yeah, this will be available. Yes, sir.
How is your, because you have an identified role in the organization. I am in charge of this.
Correct.
How would you go about approaching that without someone in that role?
Without someone in that role. So you gotta, I have this role, but I also manage our analytics COE, and I'm also part of our data science team, building out, doing consulting, and so you gotta make it be at least a portion of your role. If you don't have anyone that's actually responsible for it, it's hard to get a lot of volunteer work evolved around that, but I would work with your management and say, hey, is it all right if I start spending 8 hours a week working on this, and kind of grow from there. If you can start just portioning off pieces of it and saying this much time is going to be spent here, you're going to see that grow and expand, and when you see more and more interest in it, it becomes easier and easier to justify what you're accomplishing, with your center of excellence that you're building organically. I have 2,500 developers and about 32,000 people a week that are consuming reports on our servers.
Is there anything you would change if you were making recommendations much smaller, say,
If you're doing it for just 50 people?
or 30?
If you're doing it with 30 people, I would just do, that's a good question.
Is there anything in your
Well, obviously I wouldn't have 2 HA servers on different continents for 30 people. But, so yeah, there's probably a ton of things I would change for a smaller deployment like that. I wouldn't have international training. There'd be tons of things that would be different. I mean, obviously things are going to get condensed. I think you still want to give people the opportunity to get in touch with each other. You still want to have a resource for solved work, because even with a group as small as 30 people, you're going to have people that are working on solving the same problems. But a lot of, my overhead mapping and things like that, probably not really necessary. But still, I'll steal all those resources from Tableau, make them easy to find for people. I think there's still value, even if there's only 50 people using that, to have those resources pulled into one place for them and advertised in such that it's easy for them to understand. Let's go in the back, standing up. How many developers did I have? About 1,500, thereabouts. Let's see. Yeah, I had 1,500 developers 15 months ago. That is a challenge. You got to make sure that they understand the rules of engagement. And that's where we've gone through and to try and improve that, because a lot of the governance issues behind the scene were lacking. That's where we built in that governance dashboard to say, hey, some of this work is scoring well, some of it is not scoring well, so people can start self-maintenancing and aligning to rules that didn't always exist. Up until 6 months ago, we didn't have those guidelines as far as we want you to align to performance standards. Now that we do, we're giving people leeway and kind of marketing and saying, hey, it's great that you can show what these best practices are, and people are self-managing most of the time. And we find that when they're not, it's for tools that they just kind of put out there as a test solution and nobody's using. And if nobody's using it, we go ahead and archive that into the test environment so that it doesn't give anyone a bad experience. Let's see. Where to go? We'll go here and then over here.
What's your cadence on beginning and intermediate classes? Do you deliver them on campus, webinar?
We do classes of about 15 people per round. If you have more than that, it becomes too much for one trainer to really get to people's questions. We've still had classes for groups as small as 6. And really, when you're teaching, you'll find that sometimes you'll have a group of 15 and they soar through the stuff, the materials, and you finish, 2 hours early the second day. That's great. You'll have other times where you have a group of 6 and you're barely going to get through everything on time. So there's a lot of variability there. But we do teach them on campus, and desktop 1 is 2 days, desktop 2 is 2 days. Yeah. And over here. My executive sponsors, my leadership team is fairly supportive of our deployment in Tableau. They really like the results we're able to see in data-driven analytics. It's become kind of the tool of choice, even though there's a lot of other tools out there. And they help with marketing, basically, right? Because you get an executive that's happy with what they're seeing, they start talking to the others, and that's a big deal, really, getting this opportunity to talk to different organizations and integrate in there. In fact, having just the training available has given me access to other leaders, because you'll find out that our VP is in your class. All right, you start sweating a little bit, but also you've got an opportunity to build those relationships one piece at a time. But yeah, we are getting strong upper level support. Yes, sir.
We have you adopt Tableau tomorrow with no users today. What would change differently than how we have now?
If we had to start over today, I think I would start with governance rules in place ahead of time and a set of expectations. Coming in with new expectations and new rules after people have been doing this for years, a little challenging to get people to play by the rules when they're used to a no rules, playground. So I would definitely, recommend having established standards ahead of time if we were to start over today. I think I had a question up here. Yeah. All right. Right here. I think you can wait a while. We've got a lot of data resources. We have thousands of SQL servers, and so we wouldn't have a formal relationship with anyone in particular, but that's why we have 70 sites on from our Boise server, and then they go through and they work with those the data sources that are more familiar with those sites and specific work there, and we let them manage those relationships a piece at a time. It'd be too many to manage from a central location, so you got to isolate that into smaller groups. Correct. Yes, in the back. We don't require any training before you start to publish, but we do have rules established for performance. And so if you're publishing something and it's really bogging down the system, you're either going to fix it or we're going to put you in quarantine, basically. All right, and so then we're going to say, hey, you probably should have taken the class. But you have a lot of people that come in with experience that come in and they don't need the classes, and so we don't make them mandatory, but we have a lot of people that are enrolling in that, and you find their performance is better after they've taken the classes. But no, there's no requirement at this point. Yes, sir.
Do you provide templates for your developers, or do you just give them training and let them kind of figure out and self-govern the overall layout of their dashboards?
We have no templates at this point. We give them training. We teach them good principles and then let them kind of take care of it from there. But we also have user groups, Makeover Mondays, things like that, where they can get together with other experts, making a lot of ways for them to collaborate with other people that know the environment, because the needs for, like you said, your little group are going to be much different in sales than they are in finance, than they are in accounting, than they are in legal. And so rather than make one set of rules for everybody, we get groups together that can establish what they want and what the best practices are for that organization within the company. Yes, sir. I wasn't at the initial contract negotiations, but I was one of the early adopters when we started bringing it on.
What kinds of things do you use to drive integration, adoption, and kind of?
It really grew organically for a while. Actually, for a couple of years, it was growing organically. And then we had to make a decision to put some management over it from the IT level and say, hey, we're going to make someone in charge of this, because people were just downloading it, using it, and then showing off things. And we said, wow, we're up to 300-400 users. That's when we said, let's get together with Tableau and make this agreement a little more formalized, because of all the organic growth that we were happening that we weren't going to be able to stop. In the back. So we have people with desktop licenses, and those are considered our developers. And there's 2,500 of those. We know who the licenses are owned by and who's publishing, who's actively using that. We also then have the separate licenses for people that are having access to the servers to consume the reports there. Granted, in 2,500 instances of the same people, but over the 40,000 thereabout people that are using server, that's a small portion of it. Any other questions? Yes, sir. I think we had some people that used it, people that had a friend that used it, and also I think that they were marketing a little bit, saying, hey, you're an analyst, we have these conferences, they have a lot of marketing and excitement. When people start using it, you built something really cool, you're going to show your friend, right? Hey, look at this great thing I built. And that's what kept happening. And your friend would say, oh, I want to start using that. All right, and then he's going to show his friend, and that's what spawned the organic growth. There was a lot of people in sales reporting and finance that were starting to use it initially, and then it kind of spread out beyond that. At least that was the experience at our Boise location. I can't really speak to what was going on in Singapore and other locations. All right. Well, yes, sir. We've been retiring a lot of different, Cognos cubes. We've had, MRF, Microsoft Reporting Services, things that kind of linger on in the background that have essentially been retired. We had some people that tried to over-retire, I think, because Tableau is not, your complex 72 columns wide reporting tool. We found people that were trying to do that with Tableau, and we had to stop and say, wait a minute, not the right tool for that. Performance is going to be horrible. You're going to have way too many filters for this. So it's not the solution for everything, but it was a solution for a lot of things. I think we got over aggressive on retiring some workbooks at the start, but now we've got more of a rational expectation for what Tableau is going to do for us. But yeah, there have been other tools that came in or that were established that we're no longer using because Tableau has proven to be superior. All right. Yes, sir. We have our own scoring scheme on that. We've come up with that, so we're measuring, unused columns. We're measuring your load time. We're measuring the size of your data set. If you have unused columns, if you're on an extract. We got a list of these credentials, and they all give you points. And if you max points on everything, you get 100. All right, people are really familiar with 100 being good. And if you really, don't get very many points on that, you're going to score like something like 15, 30. And basically, if you're scoring less than 50 points, we're going to get an email saying, hey, you should probably fix this. And usually that's all it takes. People will say, oh, okay, I'll go fix it. Or they'll say, go ahead and delete it for me because that's not used anymore, in which case we love that too. We can get that out of the infrastructure. Yes? I mean, there's still going to be a place for Excel. Excel is the paper of the analyst world. Even though we got all our readers and everything, people are still going to have books and newspaper. We're not going to get rid of it, but it has helped people collaborate so that they're using common tools so that we have transparency within organizations. And I'm not finished with this journey yet. I got a lot more iterations to get, I got to tell you that, because I still find people in different groups within our organization who get their own metrics from their own place and come together and argue about it, and they call that a meeting. That's not how you have a meeting. we need to have all that figured out ahead of time. That's why I echo this constantly and say, figure out what your insights are, then have a meeting and figure out what to do with your insights. And we're driving that because I think there's a lot more adoption that needs done to come with one tool and have transparency in where these answers came from. That way we can figure out how to make the company better. Yeah. All right. Yes, sir. Correct. How do we? Really all at once. We actually hired Tableau to do a train the trainer class for us about a year ago, and we did one in Boise, and we did one in Taiwan, and they trained these trainers, and then I've been administering the training program. We wrote custom curriculum after that, but yeah, Tableau helped us out in getting those initial batch of trainers ready to go. Yeah. We actually promote Tableau Reader, all right, because a lot of people want to be able to share outside of the server, all right, they want to take it with them, and so we make that available on our software portal so people can download Reader. In fact, we always tell people, hey, if you want to have this right on your desktop to have it there instead of on the server, please go get it. It's free software, but we also add it to our portal just to help promote the use of Tableau Reader. We love people using that. Not really, because it just gives you a picture of it, all right? And that picture could represent anything, and it lacks the behind-the-scenes context unless you're giving real data into that. I mean, you're always going to have a security risk when you're exposing people to data, but that hasn't shown any particular extra security risk outside of already having desktop available for people. Desktop is going to share a lot more information than Reader will. Yes, sir. You know, it's challenging, I gotta say, but we've actually had to make some decisions. We're not always, we're not early adopters for upgrades. We have a twice-a-year cadence. We're gonna upgrade in December, and we're gonna upgrade in July, whatever the best and brightest is at that point, and secure. We're always, we don't want the latest version, but maybe one or two sub-versions ago. And by going to that cadence, that's helped us to focus on things other than just the upgrades and get into the other admin work that needs done. All right. Well, thank you all. Stay around to talk to as many of you that want to talk to me. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming.